Hello, it's Sam French here for freedomalcohol.com. As I head towards week 3, being free from alcohol, I wanted to touch base about dealing with pressures, stresses and worries in your life. This is a really important thing to tackle from somebody who has a problem with alcohol's perspective, because often the problem drinker will reach for their chosen crutch, which is alcohol, when they are under pressure, have a worry or are stressed. And that's why I think this is such a really important thing to think about. So how do you deal with pressure, stress and worries? This is a really live example for me at the moment, as I am personally experiencing this. But let's keep it to the fact and let's focus in on how I recommend that you tackle it. And I think there are a number of steps that you can take. So let's start at the beginning, which is 1. It is about understanding what this fear, worry, stress or problem is, and tackling it and looking at it from a factual point of view. I would recommend that you ask yourself the question, what is it that I am fearful of? What is it that I am stressed about? What is it that I am worried about? Because it's so easy to get things out of perspective and keep them in your mind, because one of the things that the mind is very powerful at doing is blowing things out of context. So get some space, sit down, have a think about what it really is that you are fearful, worried or stressed about, and write it down. Write down what it is. What is this specific thing? Now, how do you do that? I think it's about getting some space, getting some time away from the hustle and bustle, and just thinking through it. The reason I encourage you to write things down, as I'm sure you are aware as a problem drinker, it helps the mind process things and can make them see a lot better than at first when they're in your mind. So identify what it is, step 1. And take away the emotion. Get down the fact, what is the true situation here and have I got it in context? Point 2 is then about thinking about action, what you can do. And this is probably, if not the most important thing as a problem drinker, because as a problem drinker you will likely have celebrated with a drink, commiserated with a drink, had a birthday with a drink, had a drink because it's nearly the weekend, had a drink because, well, I need a drink, and almost always had a drink because I'm tired and I've had a long day and I'm stressed. You need to identify this so that you don't fall into that trap. And one of the key ways that I think of doing this as a problem drinker, and one of the key things in persuading you that the benefits of being free are greater than the benefits of drinking, is around the fact that if you found yourself in this situation now as a drinker, emotionally, physically, you would be in a far worse off place than you are now if you're not drinking. Your abilities, cognitive, your physical abilities, your mental presence is now 100 times better than when you were drinking. So before even starting out on the journey and tackling your worries, stress and concerns, you're ahead of the game. So recognise that, celebrate it, and just go, right, what can I do about this? Now, I'm not going to say that dealing with problems can be done overnight, but you do need to take action. And often many people's problems or stresses or worries might not necessarily be able to be dealt with overnight. But as a problem drinker, and you will know this, as a problem drinker, it is critical that you do start to take those small steps, because small steps, right, they build up and they move you forward. And until you do this, you will remain stationary. And the risk when things very clear about what the problem is, and then start to put some steps in place to deal with it. The really important thing with this is that if it isn't something that can be dealt with quickly, that you are very clear about when you want to have it completed by, or at the bare minimum when you are going to review it, because you will need to feel that you have moved forward with it and that you are getting closure on it. Now, I would challenge anybody out there who said that this wasn't possible, whether it's to do with relationships, whether it's to do with work, whether it's to do with, it can be anything. You can always have a beginning and an end. And that might mean sometimes that end isn't necessarily the best ending in the world, and it might not have everybody winning in the situation. But you will have moved forward, you will have looked at the problem, most likely you will have dealt with it and had a positive outcome, and if you hadn't, you have at least got closure on it. And I believe that this is possible in many different situations. So have a beginning and an end, and make sure that you review as you go forward. The other thing during this time is that it is about taking each day as it comes. And if you are under pressure, just remember some of the key things that you have learned as somebody who is now free from alcohol. The importance of presence, mindfulness, the importance of being thankful for what you have, the importance of just taking that time out to look after yourself and to keep moving forward in your freedom. Don't ever put this to one side, because whatever else happens with your worries, your stresses, you will always have that. You will always have your freedom, and you will always have yourself, and you will always come back to yourself. So in this process, be genuine, be authentic, be honest in what you're doing, be as thorough as you can be, and you'll do. You can't really go wrong if you're doing that. Because at the end of the day, we are left with ourselves. That's it, that's how it is. So those 3 steps then, just as a reminder. Step 1, be really clear about what it is. Take the emotion out and deal with the fact. And this may be difficult sometimes, especially if it involves personal relationships, but try to do it. Step 2, get an action plan in place. Make sure that you have clear little steps that you can measure yourself moving forward in. And step 3, make sure you review and make sure that you have a closure on your emotion, your fact, your worry in the future. Because being able to have closure on something is critical in terms of moving forward and for your well-being as well. And just the final point around that point 3 is that sometimes closing something, you won't always get the most positive outcome in the world. 9 times out of 10 it will be, but sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's just about accepting that. And then my final thought, just around, at the end of the day, you will be left with yourself. So do what is right for you, and what is right for the people around you, and that can only be a positive thing. Thank you for listening to Freedom Alcohol. I will check back with another video when I've completed my 3 weeks free from alcohol. I hope you're all well. You can get me at Freedom Alcohol on Twitter as well. Take care. Good night.